was mission incomplete earlier this week. NASA scrapped its rescue mission to save a valuable telescope from falling out of orbit. The Swift Observatory telescope has been tracking the biggest explosions in the universe for more than 20 years before it started sinking. NASA hired the company Catalyst Space Technologies to try and save the telescope by boosting it back into orbit. But the aerospace startup says it had some complications. And now the telescope is expected to crash back into the atmosphere later this year. CBS News space consultant Bill Harwood is live from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Bill, good to see you. So what went wrong?
Well, they're not really sure. The problem was that after it got into space, it was checking out normally, but they lost what they call attitude control. And in space speak, that means that they couldn't control its orientation. It was kind of moving around on its own. So they spent several weeks trying to troubleshoot that. Software patches were uploaded. They did regain control, but not to the degree they need to grapple onto the Swift telescope and reboost it. So instead, they're going to continue the rendezvous. They're going to close in on Swift. They're going to do what they call proximity operations, where the spacecraft will kind of move around the Swift and photograph it and check it out. And that's all good to have if you ever have to do this in the future with a future spacecraft that will have some fixes built in. But for this mission, that's the best it can do. And NASA's, putting a good spin on it. I mean, it is useful information they're going to get that'll pay off down the road, but it's not going to help Swift.
Do we know what scientific strides the Swift telescope had been able to achieve over the last couple decades?
Oh. Yeah, it's really cool. And if you think about it, Swift was designed for a 2-year mission, and it's been up there, like you said, for more than 20 years. What it was really good at was spotting supernova explosions. When a massive star blows up in a supernova, it can leave a black hole behind in its wake. But that initial flash of the explosion itself is very brief. And so, telescopes on the ground might see that flash, but by the time it's noticed, that has died away. And so the details of what's going on in the very first few moments of that blast, escape study. So what Swift did is it could rapidly spot those flashes and radio the location of those stars down to Earth, where big telescopes could then zoom in and follow it. Sort of like an early warning system for supernovas. And it was extremely valuable in that regard. I mean, it was really an extremely useful telescope.
NASA's Hubble Space Telescope could also use a boost. Does NASA have any plans for that, Bill?
They talk about this every couple of years, but, Hubble is a much, much bigger telescope than Swift. It would take a larger, more powerful spacecraft to either boost it or safely drive it back into the atmosphere. And it's a very old telescope. When some of its instruments wear out, there's no way to replace them. And so it's going to come down to what science is it still able to do as it slowly descends, and when is it worth making an effort to retreat or to boost it or not? And that's an open question. Hubble's going to be up for another several years regardless, and so they got time to think about it.
All right, Bill Harwood, always great to have you. Thank you.